been a great collective initiative for Whangamatā. But Whangamatā, our collective, we're seeking funding to purchase a secure storage container to house. We've got a huge amount of easels and lighting and arts-related furniture and event equipment. So we want this container to be situated at Lindsay Road as a preliminary measure until the marae and community hub is built. As a community-driven group dedicated to fostering creativity, we do currently lack a safe and really accessible space for all our gear. And currently it's situated in different pockets around Whangamatā in the Memorial Hall. So we want to have it collated, in one place. This container will certainly help protect our assets from weather damage, reduce transport costs of moving materials around, and certainly allow us to focus our energy on delivering more vibrant art experiences within the Whangamatā community. So we're hoping your support will sustain and grow the collective's impact for years ongoing. The container, now you've got the details of this, which was sent through at the last meeting, I believe. But just to recap, the container quote is 5,400 plus GST, and so comes to 6,100. The collective contribution, we can at this stage contribute 2,500 to that, which will leave a balance of 3,710 dollars, of which we're seeking. The container that has been quoted is a really modern variety, and it features 12 vents, a ply floor, and it's sealed so that it's going to be, well look after our furniture and art equipment. The size is 20 feet. The cost of this includes the delivery of the container to Lindsay Road. So the Whangamatā Arts Collective really appreciate your consideration with this matter. So I'm just wondering if anybody's got any questions or...
I do have one quick one. So where do you store the stuff now?
Well, we've got a couple of very well-meaning collective members that have used their garage. And so we've got, furniture and things dotted around Whangamatā. We do have some in the Memorial Hall and some of the pull-outs underneath the stage, but unfortunately that's getting too small for our gear. Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Thank you. Any other questions?
I was just going to ask, it has been so.
Yes.
They're not going to end up being mouldy or anything.
No, and that's why we looked carefully at what kind of facilities will be able to provide such a container, because the gear in there, we certainly don't want it going mouldy.
Right.
We've got easels and signage and so on, and so the 12 vent container will service that really well. Yeah, and it's all sealed, which is great.
No further questions for him? Right, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. And now, good morning, Margaret from Untitled Report.
Morena Chair Ryan, councillors and board members and staff, thank you for the opportunity to speak. I'm representing the Poetry Hall United Incorporated. The rest of our team would love to be here, but they're all busy working in the community. I have to apologise, I had knocked off my bike on Friday by a car, so I can see most of you quite well, but I've got my broken glasses here in case I need to read anything. You got some information about our application last time. I just wanted to give you 101, but I won't, reasons why we would love you to support heating in the hall and give you a little bit of an update as where things are as well. So the hall is going really well. It's working much better now that we can have 99 people in there. In fact, I was just talking to the folk at the Arts Collective about the opportunity now that they will be able to use the hall, because at 50 it wasn't viable for them to do that. We've got nearly 200 members. We're about to do another membership drive. When we look at the when we analyse our numbers at the moment, 50% Māori, predominantly older people, 75%. And we're reaching some people that may not be part of other groups who are part of our membership, but the hall itself is obviously open to everyone. We're still continuing to have bookings. We had a wonderful Easter celebration where we had 15 children come and do crafts and Easter egg hunt in the redwoods. That was really well supported. We're getting bookings from baby showers to, we just had a 21st. We've got Whangamatā who want to do a pink ribbon event. Where we're struggling is that we are regular bookings for yoga, Zumba, Turo have now had to move on because of the heating, because it's too cold. And some of our bookings, when you look on our calendar, we have a tentative bookings. We've got a whole pile of bookings of people who are waiting for us to get heating before they confirm. So, I mean, look, as many of you will appreciate and know, the hall is the only real hub for people to come to. We don't have a shopping centre. We don't have other community facilities in Aokautere. And it really is a place of safety and peace. And we really need it to be warm over winter. I mean, you would have seen over Easter the challenges we had with the roads, and it's very easy for electricity to be cut off. And heating, you know, it's cold. So I know you've got challenges with your money. We have applied for funding and been turned down on the basis that this is a landlord's responsibility for the hall to be warm and dry. We're on a roll with our hireage. We've just about doubled our income in the last year from hireage, which has been fantastic because, you know, of course, the hall was closed. So we're really at a critical time. We're at a tipping point where we're really trusted by the community. We're getting bookings. We want to be able to say to groups like the Art Collective. In fact, we're meeting with Dean and Eileen in a couple of weeks to talk about what are the opportunities for the community to be using the hall. We want it used all the time. We're talking to the school who want to use the hall. We've got people wanting to do training that can be done locally. We're having a big, obviously, Matariki event where we're filling 100 people plus 100 people we're budgeting for that can't come to the event. So we've got a lot going on, but we just need to work with you. And I know your staff are doing really well at trying to find money for things, but just the way the budgets have been, we understand there just hasn't been a budget for this asset. As far as what we've contributed, obviously we're a volunteer organisation. There's been no money paid for staff. We've had businesses pay for painting. We've had 112,000 donated by philanthropic trusts, which has all gone into your building. So I don't know if you do a valuation of what the asset is now, but obviously you've now got a fully fenced, painted, beautifully restored building with great crating equipment, IT equipment. I don't know what the value of your asset is, but putting in the heating, which will be affixed to the walls, will just be that step that we need just to keep the hall running and going and make the asset. Our committee's strong, our community's strong. We're just really excited, but we just need some help with this, please. Answer your questions.
Any questions?
So last time I asked a question and you just mentioned that you've doubled the hall bookings and that. So is the hall making money?
Do you mind if I put on my broken glasses? It's the hall making money. So it's we want to talk to the staff about it. We're not losing money. Our goal is actually what we would really like to do is to be able to offer the hall for free to the community, especially to the regular bookings, so that we don't have to have all the admin of invoicing people and collecting bonds and all those things, so that it's open to everyone. That's our goal. And our overheads, when we look at our overheads, are actually reasonably modest. So at the moment in hireage, last year we got 3,400. So it's not massive amounts of money, but to run a community hub the way we are, somewhere with internet, people, huge range of opportunity for use, it's a pretty cheap venture to run. So any money that we make goes back into the hall. So to have got it from a derelict building to something that's functioning is pretty amazing. But that is our goal. What we'd like to do is have the pool being used all the time, but ideally for regular and community bookings for it to be free. We'd probably still charge for weddings or big events like that, but yeah. Well, thank you for your question, Dennis.
How much are your membership fees per annum?
Per person? Yeah, that's a good question. I should be able to remember that. I think we either made them $5 or we increased them to $10 per person. We decided that part of the things that we decided that we're going to ensure we will do at least 2, if not 3 free events every year. We want to include children, and at our meeting on Sunday we talked about whether we should have like a whānau family rate, because at the moment it's individually, people join as individuals and it's a bit cumbersome. You've got to do a new membership form each time. So we're going to review our system and maybe we might do a whānau family rate. But I'm sorry to be a bit vague, it's either $5 or $10.
Yeah, okay. One further question. Have you looked at alternatives to the heating plan rather than the one you sent us?
Yes, so we talked to the fire people because we thought it would be very cosy to have a lovely fireplace. People would wanted that and that just wasn't safe. We've also looked at heat pumps. And to be honest, we probably would prefer heat pumps. We were advised by the property manager that one of the halls used these heaters, which is the ones that we've applied for, which they said are just like a light bulb. They heat things up quickly. So if people come into the hall and it's very cold, which it is very cold, it will heat it quickly. Those have been, they're similar prices, but those are the things that we've looked at. Have you got any other?
Oh, no, I mean, I don't have a TiVo heater, but I've seen the ads for them. They're about $200. And if you had 5 of those, that'd be $1,000. I don't know how effective they are, but I just think there's an alternative. Why go for the gold-plated version of, if you like, when a hall could be heated for a lot less?
Yeah, those quotes we went to heating experts to get advice on. So we've actually been to 4 different people and we've talked to the property manager of what would be best. So the ones that we've gone for are actually the ones that he recommended that another hall has used. So we have sought expert advice. Probably one of our challenges with the hall is obviously fire. So, we want to make sure that what we get is appropriate, because we've got a lot of community use, a lot of people using those heaters and we want something that will last.
So if the board feels that there is insufficient funding in what we can provide to community groups and we can't give you what you want,
yes.
What's your alternative? Would you go for the cheaper option or would you just increase your either your membership fees or your hiring fees to cover the costs of heating?
Well, we want the place to be warm and safe, so we would probably be keen to go. Well, we would, and we obviously need council support because you're the landlord. This is an asset of the hall. I don't quite know what we've done. As I say, we've put in 2 funding applications that have been turned down. We might go to, I suppose we would go to our membership and say that unfortunately the council haven't been able to provide heating. We'd probably also talk to, when we spoke to Steve, he was talking about the fact that you're doing your asset management plan at the moment. So we would try and get some sort of contribution there. We will do our best to make it work.
Are there any members of your group who could loan the funds based on future income being able to repay it?
We could look at that, I suppose. I think there's been sort of a feeling that keeping the hall, that it's a landlord responsibility for it to be fit for purpose. So that's been one of our barriers, but we haven't specifically gone out and said to our members, look, the council can't do this. I mean, for us, I totally understand where you're coming from, that you've got lots of, drains on your money.
Yeah.
I suppose it's a tough pill to swallow because people are giving a lot to the hall. They're giving a lot of time. They've given in many other ways. So I suppose it's like, how do we all do this together? What's the contribution of council? What are the contributions of individuals? Yeah, it would be a hard sell But if we had to, we would ask.
Questions? Right, thank you. Thank you for your time. Graham, good morning.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, councillors and community board members. I'm Graham Smith, representing the Whangamatā Arts Collective and speaking to the Whangamatā Community Marae and Wellbeing Hub. Wow, how special was that to be part of the hikoi to 101 Lindsay Road last Saturday and the land blessing that followed. It sure was an early start, 5:45 a.m. at the Whangamatā site, just past the boat ramp. But that didn't deter the gathering of 150, both young and old, who were privileged to witness this significant event, a milestone for our community. We listened attentively as Andre Taikato explained the protocol for the hours ahead, both in Te Reo and English. For me, personally, and I'm sure for others, we felt welcomed to the proceedings. Then, through the darkness, as expertly planned, the chant of those in the waka was heard as they steered the craft to where we were standing near the foreshore. The welcome by Dorothy Dempsey, chairperson of Ngāti Pū, was heart-rending for all of us, to say the very least. Anchor stones were presented and blessed, more protocol to explain, and then as daylight unfolded, we walked collectively past the marina, with some of the men taking turns carrying the anchor stones. We waited near the entrance to Lindsay Road as Andre explained that women were welcomed first, then more heart-rending tradition from those who welcomed us to the site. Seating was provided under twin-facing gazebos as speakers mostly spoke in Te Reo. I asked questions later, however, Peter Priest explained to me that this tradition just cements the importance of the event and is an integral part of the protocol. So good. It was so good. We then walked around the site with different speakers blessing the land. Andre had now completed his role as navigator on the day, and we were all welcomed at the Baptist Church for Kai. Sincere congratulations to the Community Marae Committee and their network of helpers. You were super organised, welcoming, and perfect hosts. Please share the recipe for that seafood chowder. It was outstanding. Thank you.
Any questions for Graham? Thank you, Graham. So we've received Heather Margaret and Graham's speech and covered for, and now I'll ask for a mover and a seconder, please, to accept the motion. Terry. Neil, thank you. All in favour, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. There's no late urgent item and there's no conflict of interest that's been declared. Any?
I'd just like to be able to raise in the action schedule some discussion around the local consultation document.
Local consultation.
Yeah.
Thank you. The minutes have been confirmed from our last meeting. Is there any entrance to exits?
Yes, the, at the end of the chairperson, it says Warwick Brooks. I just didn't think you were Warwick Brooks. That's
No, it's, we've crossed that out.
Good point.
A mover and a second, please, in relation to the minutes.
Oh, yeah, second.
Mark and them. Thank you. Discretionary funding. So the Whangamatā Community Board receives the discretionary fund request reported dated the 24th of February and approves the following discretionary funds. So is the motion, and we have, so Poetry Hall, $9,585, Whangamatā Resource Centre, $625, and Whangamatā Arts Collective, $3,710, which would be a total of $13,923. And presently we have $27,555 in the discretionary fund. Any discussion?
I'd like to talk about the Poetry Hall if I can.
Yep.
Good. I hear Mogod plea for money there. I just need to understand also, as the council is the landlord there, and we're waiting for some air conditioning down at our hall there, and it's got to go through that protocols. Well, with the hall for the air conditioning, and this may be to Eileen's question, wouldn't that follow that protocol? Like the hall down here that we're requested for air conditioning to go into our memorial hall is going through council's property.
It's a district hall, so that's different to the community halls. So they are doing an assessment at the moment on the district halls, but not the community halls. Community halls are different.
So in what way is community hall different for funding for this?
Because the community halls, they're not district funded, they're locally funded, my understanding. But the property budget covers them, but they have to be, so the property budget is done for the year. And so from my understanding, the property budget is done, it's allocated for everything that needs to be done during the year. And when things pop up, then it takes funds away from somewhere else. District funded is the Civic Centre in Thames and our Whangamatā Hall. All the other community halls around the whole district are locally funded. Yeah. We'd have to find that.
Well, just to continue, it's just about that they're requesting this money for the hall, and I just want to know the protocols and we're following protocols in terms of how this process should follow through. You're saying she's got, the application is fine to fall in front of this meeting and doesn't have to follow any other process through council.
No, if the board agree to fund the 9,500, that is approved now and the funds can be handed over.
Okay, thank you. So the other halls, does their money come out of the same community board funds?
I'm not sure. We just need to establish that how the community halls are funded.
Okay, and then if there's no funding this year, could a poetry's money come from July onwards as a separate thing, and then it doesn't come out of our local funds?
I can answer that, sorry.
Can you?
Yeah, through the chair, it could come from July onwards out of your district fund, because out of your fishery fund, because you start again with a.
Yes. I mean, but can it come from, if you like, council rather than our 90,000?
So you're talking about the property budget?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Through the chair, I think it's the process. So I think the property team, what I probably anticipate has happened, which it's hard, we should make a decision, is that the property team will go and evaluate based on need and how they can spend their budget on our facilities. I'm imagining that this hasn't triggered up as a kind of a priority for the property team, and so the board committee come for a request for discretionary funding from the board to, I guess, for a project, it needs, Whangamatā looks to have a hand up, the chair.
Would I be able to speak?
Not until they've finished here, and then if somebody asks you a question, then you can, yes.
So, so the risk, I guess, would be, we wouldn't know what the property will price for next year. But having like a heat pumps on the. And probably unlikely to be fair. They seem to prioritise as that, I think touched on that, they'll prioritise our large scale facilities.
Can-
And can we get confirmation whether the property team has been approached and even asked about heating for it? And then the landlord for the hall would be the council, the community board. So that's right, that the conflict says if we're not actually the landlord, but we're asked to pay for a council, product out of our money. So firstly, have they been approached, or do they even know about a property? Have they declined it, or?
No, they haven't been involved.
Okay, so they have, and they've declined to put heating in it.
Probably it hasn't been back to their budget.
And their budget.
And so community come for a discretionary funding to, on this thing step now.
So then to take it a step further, our community hall here, if they decline to fund that heating as well, what's to stop us as a community board putting money into that?
No.
So that is my dilemma, that we have one that serves a larger community and has been asking for it for a longer time, and to sort of put that one side and fund their poontry hall, which I certainly would like to be able to fund, but I have a problem there dealing with the wider community on that.
Just for the chair, I can confirm as well that the halls at Whirianga, Thames and Whangamatā, they're funded by the ward, but they're managed by an operational budget that property has. So it's about the availability of that budget they're prioritising.
We have no insight into that though.
No, but obviously you can make it a case to that.
Made a case.
And they could assess that with next year's budget, but I'd be surprised if Steve and the team hasn't already thought of that and said, look, just wait a couple of months.
So you're saying that we have a separate rate, locally rate that does it all?
That goes towards the upkeep of the halls. Yeah.
So we have our own rate here for our own
Yeah.
halls.
They
Yeah.
take
And they manage it.
So halls is from the wards.
Brian's just going to try and get over Steve and get a clarification.
Is the Jack McLean Centre, is that the one in Thames, is that part of this?
No, the district halls that I believe are the Whirianga Civic Centre and our Whangamatā one. Jack McLean's a separate.
It's a sports hall.
It's a sports centre.
Okay. I'd like to ask Margot to speak.
Thank you very much. We've had multiple meetings with Steve over the time, and that's the reason that we're here, is that he's suggested that they haven't had any funding allocated for a poetry hall. We've been having multiple meetings about that, and the only way we could actually get access to funding for the heaters was by going to you. So one of the issues is, had we had old heaters, potentially they could have fixed those, but he's been really trying. And we've asked him to put in their budgets for next year assets for the hall. The problem that we're suffering from is that as we are losing bookings because we don't have the heating, we're also losing potential income, and we're also losing the base of the community. So, and this is more like a community hub, but I support what Eileen's saying. There does seem to be a different sort of funding for community. So we actually get a very small amount, although we're very grateful for the funding we get from the council. It's actually a very small amount. We get just over $5,000 a year for our operational expenses. So yeah, it's kind of a funny system which we'd love to be better. We'd love not to have to do this money go around and ask for this discretionary funding, but we just have to.
I think that applies to a heck of a lot of different interests in it, and this is the whole problem. We get squeezed from all directions. So, in fairness, I think the poetry's had a pretty good out of us when you say it's only 5,000 comes out of council, but this board has given money to you before. Different things there.
We can move on to the other requests if you like, until we get confirmation from
Right,
Steve.
come back.
Hmm.
So the next request is in relation to the art collective or the container. Any discussion on that?
Oh, I just support it. Yeah, absolutely. I think they've gone away and done some sums and come back with put some input into it. And it's, and as I know, because I help the arts out a lot, there's equipment all around town and people's sheds and things, and to put it into one place, it's a community activity for a community group. And this is a great way of resolving that storage. So I support it. No, I agree with Terry. I think they've stepped up and to pay some of the costs, and they're a large group of people. Promising a good number of people in the community. A good thing.
Put it to the vote then, all in favour of the art collective funding for $3,710. All in favour say aye.
Aye.
Against? The next one is the Whangamatā Resource Recovery Trust, which is asking for $128 for the funding of printing of business cards and financial software monthly subscription.
Yes, I'd like to speak to this one too. Also, this is Helen's group, and they do an amazing job in terms of recovery of electrical goods for plastic software, everything like that. They're into it, and they're driving this trust to try and get some land and up at the transfer station, and obviously down at when Lindsay Road when it gets established. So anything to support this group going forward, they don't come up for money a lot. It's very rare. So I support this.
Any further comment? No.
I agree with Terry, but I think, and this is just being picky, but it does save a little bit of money. Is I don't think they need the business cards. Business cards are kind of old technology. Nobody uses them. I wouldn't bother.
I don't know that I agree with that, but I think it is handy, particularly if she goes to meetings and everything.
I think it's helping with their financials.
Yeah.
Yeah, the financials.
So the request is for $628. Put it to the vote. All in favour say aye.
Aye.
Against, if any?
Yeah.
Carried.
That's just against that amount that you specified. Yeah. We waiting for some.
Talk. Yeah. Brian or?
So if I can do my best, Mr. Chair, so essentially there is a program, we've limited staff budget to improve any of these facilities. So they're all funded the same, so I mean that is local. If something doesn't come onto the priority list, many groups have given discretionary funding from the board. If you wanted to, is it completely at your discretion whether you wanted to fund that request? And so in this case, Steve wasn't able to find money in our corporate budgets to meet this request. The group have come to ask you to apply discretionary funding to do it. In terms of the Memorial Hall, it's what I'm hearing is it's a little bit apples and oranges. So what you're probably going to hear back from the staff is that it's not cost effective that will solve the issues of the larger hall. It's going to be in a capital works project. It could potentially be, $100,000 for something outside of your ability to use discretionary grants for. So I guess that's what you're looking at. You're looking at a small funding for a heat pump, a small hall, but there's something that we would prioritise, but that's going to be a larger project. Halls are, from my experience looking at holding this GM halls are pretty messy at the moment, and so there is a process. I don't know how far away we are from that, but
Yeah, there's a process to review grants, which we're looking and we will have in place for the next LTP. There's also a process to look at how we manage our halls. And the intent is to get that ready for the next LTP as well, so that the council can make the commensurate decisions to move around budgets or do whatever it needs to do. But having said that, the General Manager Donna and Steve and other members of that team have only just started that piece of work last month. So there's a project plan coming. I can't tell you whether they'll be in time for the start of the next LTP or not. But I want to get your hopes up and say that we're going to fix it by the next LTP.
Mr. Chair, the one thing I'd say is that in successive annual plans and LTPs, the property budgets are a pretty easy identified budget to reduce to keep rates down, and they probably have been reduced over the last few annual plans, and so that's another thing for the council to decide on the next LTP. But I've just had an update here that the solution for the Memorial Hall is likely around 100K. And we don't have budget for that, so that's going to have to be something that's considered a project, probably like LTP type project.
So it'll be 3 or 4 years away.
Yes, yeah. It'll be a year one project. That's what, 2027.
27
at least.
So did I hear you correctly that the property group look after and fund the Putri Hall as well? So they just haven't prioritised heating and that.
Yeah, the property will look after the physical structure of all of our assets, and then if it's a community hall, there's a funding agreement that's the running the hall, or if it's a large facility like the Jake Clan or the Civic Centre, our facilities team will run it. So yeah, the property team haven't looked at it and probably agreed that a heat pump will fix the solution, but Steve doesn't have the budget to.
So is that in Putri?
Yeah.
And they also don't have budget for the hall here in Whangamatā.
Jerry.
So it's all confusing to me. You would think a heat pump was an asset really, because it sticks on the wall and sort of you don't pick it up and go away like a table and chairs. So I hear the issue that the Mogos and the crew have got about this. So yes, I'm a bit vexed about what to do next. I just think that I support what they're trying to do, because I think halls need to be heated to be used all year round. So I think it's a fantastic thing to be able to do. It's just how we fund it. I'd be prepared to suggest we put $6,000 into it if they find the other three, and support them in that way. In the meanwhile, till they sort out what happens with halls in the future, to try and see if there's a way forward. That up as a see what people think.
Can I just ask one more question? Obviously, we did all this, we're left with 13,000. I think we've still got the Secret Santas and other things to go. Do we know any budgets or costs on anything else? No, which could be a lot, could be more. What's going to be more than 13, was it?
Perhaps as a compromise to that, you could say $3,000, and then later on, near like the June meeting or something, you could come back and ask for a bit more, That's an alternative.
Yeah, at the moment, I haven't received any of the applications from any other community.
Personally, I have a problem having the two halls, and we can't fund either of them, but one can come along and ask for money to help sort it out. And we're not looking after the whole community, we're looking after part of the community. And I have it's awkward, but I do have a problem with that when we have been trying for so long to get the community hall here, something done about that.
Mm.
And to be honest, it's not a community board issue. It is a property group issue, and we've been hit with it.
Yeah, we can't fix one, unfortunately, can we? The Memorial Hall looks like it's going to an LTP project of 100 grand. Surprised me to hear that number.
They get 110 and do that one. Well, they're both coming at the same time.
Yeah.
But I don't think we've spent money on other halls air conditioning either, have we? And small halls, have we done anything Hecatara?
I don't know, sorry.
I'm just trying to think. Tyrell? I don't know. I think they've got an air con too.
Tyra may have done discretionary grant. I'm not sure.
Okay. Very complicated this. We thought we'd have an easy pathway, but
Are you putting the motion forward that you said?
well, I put it out there for discussion. If there was a seconder, I'd put it up to see how it felt. But it's up to the group, really. Just threw it up there as a way to try and find a pathway.
Motion is that we're putting $6,000 towards the agent at this stage, and at least get something underway and get it from there. And then it can be approached again as funding becomes available. So, second for that.
Can I put a motion that, for 3,000 and then further funding as it might become available, and at least that's a step in the right direction. But I'd also encourage you, Margot, $5 or $10 membership's rubbish. You need to make it 25, or at least, they've got to have a stake in the ground.
Okay, so
Yeah, I'm happy to withdraw mine because I still don't understand the two other projects that I think that Patrick Hughes brought forward. So I wasn't around that time, but I think there's some money involved with that too, isn't there?
yeah. Okay, so Jerry withdraws his. Neil's got his on the table, $3,000 towards. Does he have a seconder for that?
Which one? Yeah, I second that.
You second that? Okay, all in favour, say aye.
I would support this.
Against?
I'm against. I like it recorded.
2 against.
So I just want to be clear. So $628 for Whangamatā Recycling Resource, $3,710 for the Whangamatā Arts Collective.
Yep.
$3,000 for the upholstery hall. That will leave your funds at $20,217.
20,000.
217.
Just on that, if I just checking, Mr. Chair, do you vote in favour of it?
Yes.
Thank you for that. We thought that'd be easy, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Nothing's easy these days.
Nothing's.
That's been moved in second. So these CAPEX.
CAPEX.
Sorry, Chair, it's been moved in second.
Sorry.
The discretionary fund hasn't been moved in second.
Oh, yeah, I'll move that.
Individual.
Yeah, move that way, absolutely.
I'll second it. All in favour, say aye.
Aye.
Thanks.
No.
Okay, Whangamatā Community Board CAPEX program. Luke is going to speak. Luke, are you online?
Yes, I am.
Hi, Luke.
Good morning, everybody. I do have a few things just to talk to before I hand over for questions. The line with regards to Port Road public convenience, I've got an update with the tender process. We said it was out for construction. The construction. Just an update that we actually had no tenders come through. So the process, which was surprising to us because of the level of interest we had before that went out. We did query why that was the case with some of those we thought who would tender. And they all said that they expected that there would be heaps of tenderers for it and didn't want to put the effort in. And so that was an interesting outcome. So what that means is we have appropriately tested the market. So we can now direct approach a number of local providers that we have worked with before that we've got confidence in and negotiate direct with them to get somebody engaged to do that work. The uptake of that, though, is that it does put our timeline under pressure. And so we are working fast and hard to try and lock down somebody to do that work, but the no tenders option has delayed us slightly.
Luke, can I just ask a question?
Yes.
So the numbers, 580, I remember it was around 600. Do you think that number will still be okay?
So it depends. So it will absolutely get spent. It's whether or not it will all get spent this financial year. And so we are pushing hard to make that a reality. But we are quickly running out of time. And so this no tenders received is not what we wanted to happen. And that will slow us down by probably a couple of weeks.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lou.
Cool. So the second item is just on the one pager for Whangamatā stormwater improvement. I wanted to confirm that it's at the time of writing the report, it said a change request is in progress. This has now been approved by the project sponsor, who is Mo, General Manager of Infrastructure. And what this is essentially saying is that we are going to focus our efforts on Hetherington Road and defer works on Harbour View Road until a later date. This request came from our water services team because of some work that they had done that essentially suggested we would get more value in resolving Hetherington Road first than trying to split our available budget across two locations.
So can I just ask a question on stormwater, the rain we've had over the last couple of weeks? How's the Williamson Park Lake Pond, or whatever you want to call it, gone? Is there any data on that? I mean, it's probably the most rain we've had since it's gone up.
I can definitely ask the water services team who manage that on a day-by-day basis. As a project delivery, I don't have that information, but I can take a note.
Luke, I can speak to that. The other day, Veolia was down there taking all the seaweed off the exit point out of the Williamson Park. And we got some photos of clearing it, and it made a huge difference for the water exiting off the park. So it made a huge difference. So that, yeah, they had a whole lot of seaweed.
Obviously, they're waiting on water to test them to see how it went.
Oh yeah, the water testing results came back like there was no improvement of the water, but it was good quality water going in. So they were quite happy with the current structure. They thought they were going to do some planting though, weren't they, Luke?
Yeah. Yes, that's still underway, and that was part of the approved change request as well to fund the planting.
Not wetland stuff, just dry land. I got a question through the chair, if I may. The dump station. Again, I haven't been here for the last couple of meetings, but I had some people down the road complaining about smells. And secondly, because it's a one-way through, drive-in throughout, those vans with the discharge on the other side have difficulty trying to discharge, and because the concrete's sloping the wrong way. Have you had any feedback on that?
So on the first matter, there was a one-off feedback around smell. We did do some investigation around that, and it was probably more related to not the unit itself, but some potential leakage. We've had no further complaints around smell since that one case. And I've not heard any feedback through in regards to the directional layout. So no complaints have reached the project team on that.
I was under the impression that when it was put in that it was going to be both ways. So where that changed or how that changed, I don't know, but it seemed illogical, particularly when so many imported type camper vans now, that it would be very logical to have it as both ways.
So can we consider that?
Absolutely. I'll take that away, and we'll work with the project manager to look at the history of whether it was originally tendered and what the change was. It might have been something to do with safety and turning circles on a corner and things like that, but I'll find out the detail and provide an update.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Anything else?
Yeah, just one last point that I wanted to talk to was not related to the report itself, but just to advise the community board that staff now have a new project management tool that is being rolled out to the organisation. My team have that, and in late May it'll be rolled out to the rest of the organisation. Why I'm advising you of this is because this will hold more information around our projects, and it gives us an opportunity to relook at how we provide you with reporting And so the intent is in the next financial year, once the system's bedded in, we'll start looking at how we provide information to you and look to improve the data that we provide so that you're getting a more rich reporting structure through to you. So this is just an advance notice of potential change in that space with the intent to improve reporting.
Thank you, Luke. Appreciate that.
Yeah, just one more, Luke, around the parks and reserves. Shaboom, does he just provide this report to you, or is he going to come to our meetings and talk about his work around the town?
So usually the other teams will provide into the report, and I take any questions that I don't know the answer to offhand, and that gets feedback through Eileen to the community board. If there is a desire for regular attendance, I'm sure we can test that with the parks team.
Siobhan did attend our last.
I did, okay, because I think it's really important he does attend, because this the beautification of the town is really big to everybody. So having his input, and he's doing a lot of good work.
He is.
Yeah, really good work. So really good to have an update regularly if we can through the chair.
Through the chair, yesterday our new places manager started. So
what's his name?
Chris Rollins. So that role sits above Derek Gross and Shanks as libraries, facilities, and arts. So I'm hoping to get him to the next community board meeting, and you'll probably find that although we all have global staff, continue to cover networking, coming to Luke, jumping on here, you'll probably start thinking to us more on those political issues. I think Luke has worked with Chris in the past, probably doing the hallways and sort of experiences, 25 years in art space and local government. So those are the things I used to listen to the district.
Thank you.
Thank you, Brian. Any further questions for Luke? Thank you, Luke. Appreciate that. So I ask for a movement secondary in relation to the motion for our CAPEX work program. All in favour? Movement second first. Mark. Sorry, Neil and Dennis, and all in favour say aye.
Aye.
Carry. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Luke. On to the action schedule. It's 3 points on the action schedule. Any questions that Eileen can assist as well?
Well, Beverly Paris, I think there was a real key one. Now there's a whole lot of process around the seasonal change to speed limits, and that process needs to be started at this board and go back through council. So I just wonder how far we're down the road with that.
Len, the acting roading manager, will be updating the board on that whole process at your networking.
Today.
What's involved? Yes, today.
Okay. Now that we're done.
Okay.
I've got some points to raise at this.
The action.
Well, during the action schedules.
Yep.
Seems to be the only place that we can have a chat. So really just want a quick update. Us councillors have been really busy with the consultation program, the annual plan. So waste, and I'm just going to chuck these questions around the room. Have you had any feedback on the waste dropping the second cycle of pickups over Christmas? Have you any feedback?
Oh, I had only positive to drop it.
Right.
If the trucks used to drive around town, picking up hardly anything on the Wednesday.
Okay. So the feedback that I've received is that people are happy not to have a full month of January, but from Christmas to New Year, or the week at the end of that week after New Year, they feel there's still a lot of glass and stuff around town.
Yeah.
And they wanted to squeeze that up. Have you had any feedback like that?
No.
Thanks. Okay, so that's just feedback.
That's not an option though, is it, in the
Yeah, it is an option.
document?
Well, it says you want it or not, but in the comments you can write in there that there's an opportunity.
I write some comments.
It seems logical that they do that because, as you say, the truck drives around with nothing on it towards the end of the time.
Especially with the rubbish. The rubbish people have been very careful about, making full bins and sharing with neighbours and getting all that right. But the glass doesn't stop. The glass is an issue they're trying to keep off the roads because it's not with the program.
The things that we got that a little bit, or someone got that a little bit wrong around Beach Hop because people put all their glass bottles out at the end of Beach Hop and collection wasn't for another week. So it's probably something to look at.
Something. Number 2 was water's done well. There was an online last night for those who wanted to learn about water's done well. Is any feedback on that from people? Are they understanding of the issues between the two options, or are they still trying to figure out what it means?
I booked to do the one on the 1st of May. I'm going to do it there, but I looked at it and I thought the cheeky questions that were put in there were very good, and I actually mentioned that in my report. I think that it does give people a fair understanding of the options that are there. Has anybody else looked at that?
I've looked at it, but I've had no feedback from anybody around the water's done well. No.
Okay, quite a big decision for us to make. So we're coming up to that. We're going to do that done in sort of next May, June. And the last one's rating changes. This one seems to have got some traction. We're looking at moving the rating from land value to capital value. You understand what that means? It basically means in the $24 million of take in the town here, about $500,000 will drop and $500,000 in Thames will rise. So where's the rise and the drop? It's mainly coming out of residential here and going into commercial there. So the move of the rating change from land value to capital value is a move more into commercial, picking up some of the tab as opposed to residential. And to give you an idea of that, if you look at a cell phone tower, the amount of land around a cell phone tower is very small, so they would only pay a small land rate, but the value of the capital on top of it is very high. So under the capital one, they would pay a higher rate on that equipment. And if 2 properties were side by side in the same land, but one knocked a house down and built a new one, the capital value of that house went up, they would pay more than their neighbour because the value of their capital on this side is higher. So that's to give you a bit of a heads up of how that's worked. So just any feedback you see, we just want to pass it on. If you've got concerns, we're just trying to make sure we, sort of dot the I's and cross the T's as we go through this, because it's quite a big thing. 3 big consultation things, so people get a bit dizzy.
I think capital value seems a fairer option because it's the value that you have, and yeah.
When we did the numbers at the start, we said, well, this is going to be a big swings and that. But when we looked at, most people are paying the high land value in areas over here on the eastern coast, so it's not a big movement from them from that to capital. It's just if, like you say, do a big improvement, that might have an influence on the numbers.
So how did this come about? What's the big change and what does it need to change?
Yeah, it's a good point. So the council brought it forward. Apparently, we've only one.
Could I suggest we do this in our next meeting so that we can use it there rather than here, because we won't be making a decision on this at this stage. So could we do it this afternoon?
Outside the meeting.
Networking.
Oh, networking. Okay, you want to talk about that?
All right. Thank you.
Yeah, it's fine.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Received the action plan reported on the 18th of March, dated the 18th of March. All in favour, say aye.
Aye.
Against? Carried. Thank you. Sorry?
I'll move it.
Chairperson's report. That's next. Beach Hop has gone for another year, and that's a huge success for our team. Thank you and congratulations due not only to the Beach Hop team, but also to the staff and workers who made it such a success. I understand that policing did not have many problems over the build-up and on the main days. One concern that I had was the transporting of children on the back of trays of open-type vehicles and motorcycles without helmets and capable of holding if required. That being said, it was a great boost to our town. It was great to see the publicity for the Anzac Day commemorations in Whangamatā. We certainly bat higher up the ladder than a lot of other townships in our commemoration. Congratulations and thank you to all involved. With our ageing community, it is great to see that the efforts of the past military members to attend these commemorations and also the young people participating, very well done. It was great to receive the 4-page cheat sheet in relation to the local water, done well. I think it clarified things quite well for that. Thank you to Kerry Gillespie who had put that together. It is noted that 3 residents have now put their names forward for the position of the mayoral position. If members are aware of residents interested in becoming involved in local politics, I ask that you speak to them about their interest. I wish you all a safe May. Thank you. Could I ask for a seconder for that, please? Neil, thank you. All in favour?
Aye.
Against? Carried. Okay. So the next one is public exclusion. So members of the public will be asked to leave the meeting room while this is discussed, please.
I move we can move into public exclusion.
Seconder. Thank you.
Let's take the opportunity to thank the board for their support. Thank you.
Yes.
I'm just about like.
So,
What? Sorry. No. Yeah. Sorry.